As we all know, heroes are all well and good, but without an equally powerful and sinister counterpart, they fail to leave a lasting impression. So, the success of every anime is partly also dependent on the villains that bring out that edge into the protagonist and makes them lovable. So, in this video, we will be talking about 10 such villains without whom the animes would not be the same. In the previous video, I left out some of your beloved characters and some might be missing from this one as well. So, do comment down below your personal all-time greatest anime villain list. So, without further ado, let's get on with the list. At number 10, we have Gilgamesh from the Fate series. While the Holy Grail wars are meant to be fought by heroes of legends, Gilgamesh certainly makes the case for legendary villains being in the mix as well. An ancient king who desires to own everything he could get his hands on, Gilgamesh is driven by greed and his own personal interest at any given moment. This includes when he is summoned to fight in the Holy Grail war with his master only able to control him by the barest definition of the word. Worse yet, he is vastly more powerful than most any other contenders in the war. Able to summon weapons from his vault of possessions, he can rain down death in an instantaneous, bloody storm of destruction. As a result, the life or death struggle everyone else sees themselves in is a little more than a passing distraction for him. Instead, he bides his time and amuses himself with battle, confident he'll come out on top. This leads to his eventual downfall, but right up to that point, it's hard not to believe he'll get away with his arrogance. He's an anime villain that embodies overpowered adversaries and remains a near indomitable force till his dying breath. At number 9, we have Hisoka from Hunter x Hunter. Everyone in Hunter x Hunter is searching for something, and though his pursuit may be twisted, Hisoka is no different. A devious killer and master nen user, Hisoka is driven by his desire to find and kill strong opponents, be they young children or master criminals. He'll pursue them to the ends of the earth with a bloodlust on par with the wild predators. Likewise, he doesn't care what happens to himself or others in his pursuit. Mass civilian casualties, the loss of his allies, or even the loss of his own limbs barely faze him, so long as he gets to fight with someone that tests his limits. As a result, he more often than not embodies chaos incarnate, wreaking havoc in his pursuit of battle and leaving a mountain of corpses behind him. Needless to say, this puts him at odds with the series' protagonist at regular intervals. Not only do Gon and his friends fit the bill for what he seeks, but they often take on enemies that prove to be exactly what Hisoka is looking for. And yet, this also serves to make him all the more interesting. While other villains might strike out at the protagonist and heroes immediately, Hisoka schemes, allies himself with, and double-crosses people regularly, always finds the best angle to work in order to reach his goal. He may not be a world-ending anime villain with seismic ambitions, but he is undeniably interesting to see at work. At number 8, we have Madara Uchiha from Naruto Shippuden. The epitome of a shinobi warrior, Madara Uchiha embodies the spirit of his age as well as the defiance of outdated mindsets refusing to fade away. Raised in an age of war and conflict, Madara embodied everything he needed to be to survive the world around him. Fast, cunning, and privy to godlike ninjutsu, he crushed almost all who came up against him. This served him well enough during the times of war, but when the world turned to peace, he found himself at odds with others on how to achieve it. Where they sought to let people strive for it themselves, he sought to use his power to force them into submitting to his views or how peace should be achieved. This led to his falling out with his allies, his defeat by their hands, and his eventual plot to rule the world through an endless jutsu, all while he manipulated and crushed any who opposed him. Needless to say, he served as a great enemy for Naruto and his allies, or at least he did while he served as the main antagonist. Once he was outdone by the series' true big bad, his ambitions and presence were diminished a bit, if only because his plans fell apart because of the trope of a bigger and badder anime villains being in the shadows. For the time, he was in control though. Madara proved himself an anime villain on par with the best of them and established the highest bar for Naruto's long list of enemies. This can also be justified by the fact that the strongest shinobi warriors in the Naruto world are those who have bested Madara in a one-on-one fight. At number 7, we have King Bradley from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Though he may only have been the pawn in his father's plot, King Bradley proved the better anime villain of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood and beyond. Raised from birth by the homunculus father for the position of a mysterious ruler, Bradley's ambitions were enhanced past the point of being superhuman by injecting him with the Philosopher's Stone. This boon granted him with the all-seeing eye, allowing him to see each and every detail around him, whether he was negotiating with political opponents or dodging bullets on the battlefield. However, this came at a cost. Gone were every other emotion in him except wrath, which he utilized to rule the country and expand its influence. Ishwala and so many other nations were trampled and stamped with ruthless efficiency, all for the sake of his father's great ambitions. And yet, beneath this baleful demeanor, an unnervingly human personality resided, where the other homunculi looked down on humanity, the remnants of it left within him respected and envied what he once was and never could be again. As a result, his eventual defeat is both vindicated and somber. For all of his evil deeds, he managed to hold on to some humanity to the end, savoring the victory of the series protagonist ever so lightly. At number 6, we have Johann Liebert from Monster. Monster is the kind of series that lulls viewers into comfort before dropping the hammer, so it's little surprise its villain, Johann Liebert, does the same. Unassuming in almost every regard, Johann is typically ignored or forgotten by almost everyone he meets. Sure, some may have a passing memory of seeing him here and there, but he's otherwise able to blend in and disappear at his leisure. This is exactly what he prefers though. A psychopath raised as a secret government operative since birth, he escaped his captive life and sought to use his skills on the world's populace in secret. Sometimes this means manipulating others into helping him commit murders. Other times it means toying with their weakness and emotions until they are pushed to the brink, going mad or killing themselves. He does this all from the shadows, and almost as soon as his twisted games are over, he vanishes again to avoid detection. He may not have any grand ambitions or overachieving evil plots for the world, but that only serves to make his behavior all the more twisted and off-putting. At number 5, we have Muzan Kibusuzi from Demon Slayer. Anytime a character refers to themselves as the Demon King, there is a good chance that they'll probably be an anime villain. Simply being a villain doesn't even begin to describe Demon Slayer antagonist Muzan Kibusuji though. Before we are even introduced to this character, his villainous acts pile up as we learn that he is responsible for the death of Tanjiro's entire family and for turning Nezuko into a demon. While we do actually see Tanjiro meet the man who murdered his family, he simply turns a man into a demon to keep the Demon Slayer from getting in his ways. He doesn't care who he has to sacrifice or kill as long as he stays on top. His fear-mongering and murderous rage isn't simply limited to humans though, as he is known to kill and curse demons simply for even uttering his name. You need to look no further than his meeting with the lower ranks in the first season to see this, as he slaughters all but one for not being bloodthirsty enough. At number 4, we have Dio Brando from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Given how over the top JoJo's Bizarre Adventure can be, it's a little surprise that it gave birth to one of the most over-the-top and bombastic anime villains of all time. Originally the son of a shameless criminal, Dio Brando was raised under one core belief: do whatever ensures your own survival. Abiding by this creed, he lives only for himself, stealing and killing and doing whatever it takes to get ahead. These aren't generalities either. In the first few episodes of the show alone, he throws a dog into a furnace, poisons his adoptive father for his inheritance, and nearly unleashes a vampire horde onto the 19th century England to advance his own ambition. And that's only at the start of the series. Using his vampiric powers, he survives for generations and kicks off a new threat to the world over a century later, and while he's at it, unleashes the power of stands upon the world. Really, his only downfall is that he's always overconfident. Instead of dealing with the Joesters and all their allies immediately, he always gets caught up in the theatrics of his plot and pays deadly for it every time. Still though, when he takes center stage as a series villain, it's hard not to be enraptured by his antics and absurd sense of ambition. At number 3, we have Bondrewd from Made in Abyss. Made in Abyss may be filled with Lovecraftian horrors out for flesh and blood, but they've got nothing on this psychopathic monster. Acclaimed as one of the Abyss's most renowned explorers, Bondrewd embodies the deepest depth one can go in order to survive the Abyss. No option is too inhuman, no length is too drastic to take, and no boundary is too left uncrossed. Case in point, he uses humans as test subjects for his research on the Abyss curse and effects, turning even children into pain-ridden lumps of flesh in the pursuit of ways to uncover the pit's secrets. As a result, he's spoken of in hushed whispers and dire warnings to the protagonists. His influence felt even hundreds of thousands of feet above the facilities he commands. On one hand, it's easy to hate such a self-interested monster. Several dozen, if not hundreds of people have suffered by his hands, and more still will continue to suffer as time goes on. On the other hand, he simply found a way to do what every character in the show wishes to do, by whatever means necessary. He survived the Abyss's horror and struggles to continue to do so. It's a tough line to walk, but Bondrewd does it with a horrifying beauty, and with more to be seen of him in the series' future, there is no telling how much higher he could rise, or lower he could sink as an all-time great anime villain. At number 2, we have Shogo Makashima from Psycho Pass. In a dystopian future, where crimes are determined before they are even committed, Shogo Makishima poses the ultimate threat, an anomaly that the system can't detect. Makishima is able to commit crimes without detection. This includes theft, conspiring to attack someone, and even cold-blooded murder. He is not shy about using this to his advantage either. Inquisitive as to why he is this way and determined to bring down the civil system, he tests the limit of his gifts by orchestrating events that throw the world around him into chaos. It's for this reason that he temporarily brings down the digital law enforcement programs, driving all of Japan into a state of frenzy and panic as crimes are committed by anyone and everyone with little to no consequences. It's devious to say the least, but it comes unnerving when the core driver of his actions, freeing people up to make their own decisions again without surveillance, becomes clear and more terrifyingly logical. He is the type of villain who found the worst way possible to try and improve the world, and for all the pain and chaos he's caused, there's a horrible, lingering question left behind. Was there some good and truth to what he believed? And at long last, at number 1, we have Light Yagami from Death Note. When someone's goal is to become a god through murder and deception, chances are they are a pretty insidious anime villain, and Light Yagami is no exception. A young man with a genius intellect, Light stumbles upon the Death Note at a younger age and quickly realizes its power to kill anyone is no joke. Instead of getting rid of it though, he hatches a plan. He'll kill everyone he deems a criminal, becoming the ruler and god of the new world he creates. It's a fine idea on paper, at least in terms of ridding the world of crime and suffering, but in execution, this ambition quickly corrupts him worse than he already was. In addition to criminals, Light also manipulates and kills almost everyone around him he deems a threat. Policemen, investigators, and even his own family fall victim to his plotting, all while he continues to advance his plans. The worst part is, even after he's brought down for his crimes, he gets his wish. Some in the world idolize him for his action, making him a person of worship long after his death. So, that was the list, guys. Do like, share and subscribe if you want more such videos on this topic. And do leave a comment on other topics that you want me to make a video on. So, have a good one you all.